Who's the stupidest person you have ever met, and what story perfectly sums up their stupidity? An old co-worker named James. We worked at McDonald's and were both 16. One time, while mopping the lobby, he for some unknown reason decided to chase a number of customers around with the mop, yelling, "I am gonna get ya." He was fired on the spot. I can't stop laughing at this. I keep picturing him at a job interview. "So, why did you leave your last job?" Flashback, "I am gonna get ya." My brother and I were in the kitchen one day as teenagers. My brother was filling the sink to wash dishes. When the sink was nearly full, he went to turn the tap off, but it wouldn't budge, so the water kept flowing. I tried turning it too, but with no success. This is when the panic set in. The level of the water was rising fast and we did not want to flood the kitchen. He took big saucepans out of the press to fill with water to keep things from overflowing. While I was in a frantic scramble under the sink trying to find the mains to turn it off there, I could not find it. Now really panicking, I took over the pot filling duty and my brother went running off to look for Dad as quick as he could. Dad came running in with my brother while we were shouting at him about looking for the mains. Dad just came over to the sink and pulled the plug out of the hole, letting all the water down the drain. Haha. I've told this story before, but I like telling it because Tammy. I had a boss named Tammy. One night, we were all working late doing stock take, and we were discussing the impending lunar eclipse. Someone asked what happens during an eclipse. Tammy grandly explained that the eclipse would occur when America went in front of the moon, blocking our Australia's view of it. Like she literally thought the Earth stretched itself into like a U-bend or neck pillow shape, and half of it stayed in our normal orbit, and the other half stretched itself over and around to casually block the moon for the rest of the Earth. I do not have enough processing power to imagine what her conception of our universe and its laws are. Had a guy in a third-year undergrad developmental psych course raise his hand in a full lecture hall and ask the professor, "Prof, do infants diagnosed with SIDS get asthma later in life? Like, are they more likely to get asthma?" SIDS stands for Sudden Infant Death Syndrome. He just kept pursuing the question. The prof did not understand how she could answer it. She thought there was some kind of logic in it that she was not seeing. Finally, some girl took the initiative to shout across the room, "No, they're not more likely to get asthma. They are dead. They have died suddenly, and will thus not be at risk of developing asthma." Great day. He always sat in front of me and I would see him writing just absolutely horrible poetry and song lyrics. "Prof, do infants diagnosed with SIDS get asthma later in life? This is dumber than symptomless coma." I am half Korean, going to high school in the Midwest during the 1992 LA riots. My typing teacher pulled me into the hallway and asked if I had an uncle or something I can call in LA to make the riot stop. She said she knew that we're all closed and we all have stores and whatnot. Therefore I must have a connection there. I was like, "Lady, even if I did have an uncle I could call, do you think he is Batman?" Our biggest argument was over whether the correct phrase is egg yolk or egg yolk. Oh, you mean the yellow part? My high school classmate, whose name is Nick, we were in chemistry, doing a lab practical, which required the use of a bulb pipette, a glass pipette with a removable bulb that you squeeze. Nick did not know how to use the pipette, so he put it to his mouth to suck up sulfuric acid. It got about 3/4 of the way up before our teacher screamed, "Nick, stop it right now." To be fair, that is how they used to do it before we had those plastic bulbs. Yep. My mom tells me stories about mouth pipetting hydrofluoric acid in her labs back in the day. Why do the crossings beep? For blind people. But blind people can drive. Back when I was in middle school, I was playing Guitar Hero with a neighbor, and he asks, "Hey man, why does the yellow button have a bump on it?" And for whatever reason, capital I, without missing a beat, say, "So blind people can play, and they know where to put their fingers." We both accepted this as the obvious answer, and my brother was sitting on the couch watching and he was like, "Are you two ducking retarded? How would a blind person play this game?" Think about it for a second. I felt pretty stupid after that. I think you guys were in the vicinity of the what is probably the correct answer. You just overshot it and went to the extreme. I suspect that the bump is there so you can keep track of your finger locations without having to look at your hands. Kind of like how F and J have bumps on a lot of keyboards as tactile markers for your finger locations. Yeah, that was the conclusion we ended up coming to. My cousin. All through public school, she was a snob who looked down on everyone. She was super stylish and struggled academically. We graduated in 2014. We both went to colleges, not the same one. She got a job at a bar. Stayed out late drinking. Her boyfriend told her she didn't need to complete college. So she just stopped showing up. Didn't drop, just stopped showing up. Completely flunked out. Here comes the mega stupidity. Our families live hours away from her college at the time. Her family went to move her back home. My cousin's mom noticed a pile of clothes in the corner. The mom said, "What's that?" "Your laundry. Pack it and we'll wash it when we get home later." My cousin, "I kid you not, you can wash those." Turns out, she'd been throwing away clothes instead of washing them. She claimed she didn't know she could. Yet she washed her undergarments and bras without a hitch. She is now at home with her family and has started doing more chores to show an increase in responsibility. She still tries to throw clothes away, citing that she didn't know they could be washed and reused. Makes me wonder what she thought all those years before college. Before she left home, she wore some of the same outfits repeatedly. She had to have known they could be washed. When I was in the Navy, there was a cook on my ship. He once served red chicken. I genuinely could not tell whether he was trying to cover up his limitless incompetence or if he genuinely believed that rare poultry is a real thing. He was dumb enough to believe it. Another time, he just filled a pan with ground beef and called it meatloaf. Another time he was supposed to make sugar cookies. You know, several hundred of them for the whole crew. He did not bother to read the label on the container he opened. And apparently he did not taste the batter at any point. And he actually made salt cookies. He used up all the remaining salt in the pantry and we had unseasoned food for the remaining several weeks of the mission. During which time the captain assigned someone to be the cook's bodyguards. Season the food with the cookies. This guy goes to Harvard. A girl my dad dated for a while. Even while dating her, my dad would say she was dumber than a bag of rocks. One day, she sat down to watch a movie with my dad. Movie was all about this guy and his twin brother. She sits and watches the whole thing. No interruptions. At the end, she turns and asks, "So there were two of him?" Would explain why she always had the TV turned to a music channel. Apparently she could not follow normal TV or movies. Please tell me it was the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. There was a troubled kid I went to high school with. He struggled with school but had friends but was starting to do drugs and go down a bad way. He decided to photocopy the front and back side of a $20 bill, cut it out of normal paper, and glue the two halves with Elmer's glue. What's even more sad is that to test his new money he went to the gas station and bought some gum and it actually worked. So in his mind it must have meant that it was foolproof. So he then tried to go and deposit the glued up money at an actual bank. He was obviously found out and arrested. I don't know where he is now, but I am assuming he is making similar life choices. My flatmate at university did something similar. He put a whole bunch of effort into forging 10 notes research paper. Found some spray adhesive that was just the right consistency. Got hold of a very sharp craft knife and cutting board. Figured out how to fake the metal strip and watermark with kitchen foil and crafty printing. He had an excellent printer. His copies were pretty good, but by no means perfect. So he and his accomplice Joe decided to keep to two simple rules: only use them in dimly lit bars when it was too busy for staff to check every note, and only ever take one copy out of the house. That way if they were caught they could claim it was an honest mistake. They got them in their change, etc. Well, at first it worked surprisingly well. They did buy one drink with the dodgy 10, pocket the change and nip back to the flat to grab another. In fact, it worked so well that they got cocky. One day, my flatmate was out with Joe in a crowded area in broad daylight when they decided to roll a joint. Joe took a bag of weed out of his pocket and passed it over, right in front of two police officers. Of course, the officers stopped and searched them and found over 200 worth of forged notes, all with the same serial number. It's amazing that for all the illegal poop people do and make so many fail-safe plans around, it's the stupid things that are so easily avoidable are almost always what gets them caught. I've seen so many episodes of Cops where the guys carrying 10 pounds of coke in the car were caught and arrested all because they decided to make an illegal U-turn or blow a stop sign. Only break one law at a time. It's very good life advice. Had a next-door neighbor who robbed a Howard Johnson at the top of our street at gunpoint. Wearing a ski mask, took the money, took off the mask and was walking home 2 blocks down said street when cops pulled him over and found the mask, the gun and the money. He was wasted and asked them would it help if I said I'm sorry. Got a couple years in Rikers Island. Came out, broke into a local apartment house, stole some money and jewelry. Got stuck out on a fire escape when the ladder would not go down, and he had closed the window behind him. Couple more years. That is 2 stories. I guess. There is a few more. But you get the picture. He did leave me a box of cassettes when he went up one time. Among them the Allman Brothers Live at the Fillmore. I became a lifelong fan. So, thanks. And named next door failed robber. He was actually a really nice guy. And, like, a young Ray Liotta handsome. Just dumb as a brick. I know a guy smokes a lot of weed and is fairly overweight. He had been trying to find work but was having trouble finding a job since everything he was interested in drug tested. He told my boyfriend that he had a plan that might help him pass a drug test. Since weed supposedly gets stored in your fat cells, he proposed that he should just eat even more than he normally does so he can gain weight. That way, the fat that he gained would replace the weed fat. Boom. Problem solved. She ashamedly told us, her co-workers, how she humped her boyfriend and thought she was pregnant. They were wearing clothes. She wasn't pregnant. She also thought the Great Depression was in the 60s and along with the end of World War II. In the 60s. She is a nurse now. The thinking she got pregnant from that makes me think she is just super sheltered or was raised really religious or something. Do not know if the stupidest, but pretty stupid. We were on a drive through an animal park. We see an animal. She asks what kind of meat would that one be? Someone replies oh, it had probably tastes similar to beef I did imagine. A few minutes later we see a different animal. She asks and what about that one? Would it be, like, a fillet or a T-bone or something? Then I realized. This woman thinks different cuts of meat come from different animals. Once at a restaurant in New Orleans, my friend ordered macaroni and cheese. At the table with about 15 other people he says out loud, "How did macaroni and cheese become a thing?" To which I replied, "What do you mean?" He says, "I mean, it is so redundant. You know." I say, "What? How is macaroni and cheese redundant?" And he says, "Think about it. You have got cheese and then you have pasta, which is made of cheese." He thought all pasta was made of cheese. My freshman year roommate dropped a class because he wanted to play his PlayStation more. It put him below the minimum credit threshold for his scholarships and his parents owed $40,000. He was smart enough to get scholarships, yet dumb to make the decision. Nice. I would say that in these situations there is a lot of parental control going on. Parents have pushed them and made all sorts of rules like no games all their life. So when they get free in college, they break out and make bad decisions and their grades drop dramatically.